Hey Scrappy friends, it's Audrey. Welcome to my channel and another fall layout. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've done a lot of mixed media lately and I'm going to go back to doing a traditional old layout. So I have several photos printed here. They're all 3x4. I often scrap with only one or two photos, and sometimes I get stumped when scrapping lots of photos because I like to add a lot of visual elements to my page. So it's a matter of, balancing the visual elements with the photos because you don't want your embellishments to take over your your design. So and overpower your photos. So it can sometimes be a struggle for me to do this. But I'm going to attempt it. So I am using I think this is maybe it's a Carta Bella collection. It's either Carta Bella or Echo Park collection, and I love the soft tone of these colors. Very pretty for fall. And I just took some of the strips of pattern paper, and I'm going to kind of make a cluster on the left, and then keep my photos arranged in kind of this staggered grid pattern on the right. And you just saw that I fussy cut out that little banner from paper that says Happy Fall. I thought that was super cute. And I'm just going to use some strips on the side here and kind of layer the strips on top of each other, excuse me, and then play around with creating some type of element here on the left. Because I often do a lot of mixed media, I don't actually use a lot of pattern paper. I mostly use my pattern paper to back my photos and maybe do small mats behind them or little bits here and there. So I wanted to highlight some more pattern paper. I've gone through my stash to find some other things. I think burlap is like the perfect texture for fall pages. It just reminds me of farms and fall and hay bales and hay rides. So I have these old little yellow bicycle kind of burlap embellishments. There's hearts and little banner pieces. And I took them apart and kind of rearranged them together in different orders to kind of make the cluster that I wanted. And to kind of balance out this cluster, I'm going to scatter some other burlap around the page. So I decided that I wanted to make this a little bit more visually appealing instead of just strips, straight strips up and down. So I am going to angle these strips a little bit, and I'm cutting out the middle because I'm going to kind of like cinch it in the middle to make it look like it's collected, and then kind of put an embellishment there. So I'm kind of covering up the middle there with my fingers to see what that's going to look like. So, and I want, it kind of reminds me of the way this is structured is a bunch of corn stalks, like when you collect corn stalks or you see like that corn stalk embellishment, how they're like gathered at the top with a little twine or something. So that's what I was kind of going for. And I'll put a little cluster around the part where it's cinched there. And I had to ground my photos with something, so I'm going to put some pattern paper behind my photos just to kind of give them a place to sit. And I'm going to now rearrange my embellishments a little bit to see exactly where I want to put them. I also have balanced, I don't know if you can tell, but tried to balance out the orange on my page because the orange I think is the color that sticks out the most. So I put the orange pumpkin, and I have one of the letter L and the word fall on the banner, and then that orange strip down the center there. And these two little embellishments were kind of just hanging out. I felt like I needed to ground those as well, so I'm going to just put a little strip underneath as a place for them to rest so they don't look like they're just floating. Lots of other things from my stash, some journaling spots from October Afternoon, some other little stickers older stickers from American Crafts, excuse me. And I'm just going to play around with these a little bit. So these are photos from actually, I think 2018 maybe. We went to a local pumpkin farm that has all kinds of things to do besides just pick pumpkins, like go-karts and little tractor rides, and they had puppies, Akbash dogs, if you know what those dogs are. They're like not a herding dog, but like a flock protecting dog. And so it was just really fun. We met some friends there, and the kids had a great time. So yeah, my children actually look kind of young in this picture. It makes me sad. Okay, so I am, again, just kind of picking through my stash, trying to find a few other things. I'm going to put a few leaves in there, leaves and pumpkins, kind of just say fall. And I wanted to bring in a little bit more orange, so I'm going to use my punch that I have here and add a few punches of some bright orange leaves. That one journaling spot was bothering me because it added a little spot of orange that I wasn't really happy with, and this one is a little bit better because I feel like it blends into the background a little bit more. And then I needed something over this part that was cinched. It said happy together, but I just covered up the word happy, and I'm just going to leave the word together there. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing this on because I like how things are looking here and how things are laid out. So I'm going to distress all the edges of all of these pieces, which takes a little bit of time. But I love the look of distressed edges. I almost always distress things on my papers, on my layouts. Okay. This is going a little bit slow, but after I lay all these out like I had them, by the way, notice that I balanced, well, I tried to balance anyway, pattern papers with solid papers. So I'm kind of breaking up the pattern papers here, the polka dots and the plaid, with a solid strip in there. And again, it just gives you kind of a resting spot for your eye so that you know, you're not too overwhelmed with pattern, but you still get to see a lot of the pattern. So I think it's important to have a solid in there at some point. Oh, and that corner there, that top left corner, some of these pattern papers from Carta Bella come with like an edge effect on them where the edges are darker. I don't know if that makes any sense. Actually, that little scrap on the table right now to the left, you can see what I mean, like the corner is really dark. And I wanted that corner of that pattern paper to be a little bit lighter, so I just cut out a piece of scrap yellow paper there and put it in the corner. I am going to pop up some of these photos, so I'm just cutting out some craft foam, and I'll pop up each of these photos with my tape runner. I often find that when I use a lot of photos like this on a page, I almost always end up with the same kind of design. Like not the page itself, but the way I arrange my photos, I kind of put them in a cluster that's kind of offset like this. So I frequently do that, and I don't know, I should probably experiment with that a little bit more and try to be more creative in my photo layout and how I position my photos. And I feel like I actually did a pretty good job on this page trying to balance visual elements with the photos themselves. Okay, so I'm going to glue that whole thing down now that I have that arranged. And I went back through and I machine stitched with some dark brown thread in some different areas of the pattern paper there, which I'll show you in a minute. So this one embellishment, it has like this white canvas on it, and I wanted to change the color of it because I wanted it to blend in with the papers a little bit more because the white was just too much of a contrast. So I'm just taking some inks and I'm doing it with my finger because I think it just blended a little bit better. So I'm trying to get kind of like that greenish, mossy brown color. So I started with a few different greens in the bottom, and I'm kind of going over it with a little bit of brown. Again, just rubbing it with my finger. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the leaves, and then use a different shade of green here, kind of a mossy green, to blend in on the leaves. Okay, so I love those colors. Those are really pretty, and they match well. And then I went through and I inked the edges. Another technique I don't often use. That used to be the thing. Like you inked the edges of everything: pattern paper, the edges of your photo, the edges of your embellishments. So it does definitely do something. It makes them stand out for sure. Like you can see those leaves on that cluster. It really kind of makes them pop and stand off a little bit more. Okay, so I skipped somehow, forgot to did not record this part, but I took my stapler and I stapled the happy to a piece of twine. So I have 2 staples for each letter, and I just stapled the twine over it. And did the same thing with the word fall. And then I put little foam adhesives on the back of each to kind of make them pop off. And twine, like this jute twine, is another element that I think just screams fall. It's perfect for fall, kind of that natural looking material, and goes well with a burlap too. And I was kind of playing around with the edges, like what do I want to do? Do I want to tie them in a bow? And I just decided to kind of leave them hanging off there. And to kind of bring more of that twine in, I'm going to wrap the twine around some of these pattern papers here and stick it underneath my flower cluster. And I decided to get a glue dot to help me glue that down there. So I'm going to do 2 pieces of twine here around the page. There's that. What else do I do? I gotta glue this in. I guess I cut the word happy off. And it's sticking over my photo a little bit, but that's totally fine. It actually helps connect it, I think. I'm gonna just give that a little dimension, kind of curling up the edges of these little banner pieces here. Not that they stay that way, because they totally get flattened out once you put them in the albums, but hey, it looks nice now. I'm gonna add in a couple more leaves. And I am just about finished here. I need my label sticker for my date, which I add to almost every single page I do. So something for the date, and sometimes a few other labels. And I'm going to go back through with a few brown splatters. So I just covered up my photos. I don't really care if splatters get on the pattern paper or embellishments. That's part of the look. But I feel like that's about it. So I'm pretty happy with this page. Not a ton of mixed media, but that's okay. So you can see all the elements there, and there's a better shot of those staples and the twine, which I love how that looks, and close-up of the stitching, which adds some great texture, and all the little bits, the burlap, the leaves. So really fun. Well, thank you so much for joining me for another fall-themed page. I will be back tomorrow, maybe a couple more days this week with some more fall layouts. Thanks so much for watching, and stay scrappy, my friends.